2. Is Israel imploding? It's a provocative question, but one that's being asked more frequently in quiet conversations and academic papers. Beyond the headlines of conflict and diplomacy, a different story is unfolding. It's a story of a nation whose geopolitical influence might be shrinking, while its internal structures show signs of serious strain. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the argument that Israel, a regional powerhouse for decades, is facing a period of unprecedented internal and external challenges that could reshape its future. Let's start with the geopolitical landscape. For a long time, Israel's strength was built on a few key pillars: unwavering support from the United States, a technologically superior military, and fractured, less organized adversaries. But each of these pillars is now showing cracks. The relationship with the United States, while still strong on paper, has become more complex. We're seeing a generational shift in American politics. Younger demographics, particularly within the Democratic Party, are increasingly critical of Israeli policies. Public opinion is no longer as monolithic as it once was. This has led to more public disagreements and a sense that unconditional American backing can no longer be taken for granted. While the security alliance remains robust, the diplomatic and political blank check is being re-evaluated, forcing Israel to navigate a more nuanced and sometimes less supportive international environment. This isn't about an overnight collapse of the alliance, but a gradual erosion of the absolute certainty that has defined it for half a century. Simultaneously, the regional dynamics are changing. The Abraham Accords were a landmark achievement, normalizing relations with several Arab nations and signaling a potential new era of regional cooperation. However, these accords were largely transactional, based on shared concerns about Iran and economic opportunities. They didn't resolve the core Palestinian issue, which continues to be a major source of regional instability and a rallying point for opposition against Israel across the Arab and Muslim world. In fact, recent events have shown just how quickly public sentiment in these new partner countries can turn. Putting pressure on their governments and limiting the depth of these newfound alliances, the idea that the Palestinian question could be sidelined indefinitely is proving to be a miscalculation. Furthermore, Israel's military deterrence, while still formidable, is being challenged in new ways. The traditional model of conventional warfare against state armies is less relevant today. Instead, Israel faces a network of highly motivated, technologically adapting non-state actors. Groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza have evolved. They've learned from past conflicts and developed asymmetric warfare strategies that are difficult to counter decisively. They have demonstrated the ability to absorb significant damage and continue fighting, challenging the narrative of swift, overwhelming Israeli victories. This creates a state of perpetual low to high intensity conflict, which drains resources, frays nerves, and makes a clear, lasting security solution seem ever more distant. The era of quick, decisive wars appears to be over, replaced by a grueling attritional struggle. But perhaps the most significant challenges are not external, but internal. The Israeli state itself is showing signs of deep dysfunction. The political system has been mired in instability for years, with repeated elections failing to produce stable, long-lasting governments. This political paralysis makes it nearly impossible to address long-term strategic issues, from economic policy to the conflict with the Palestinians. Instead, governance becomes a series of short-term fixes and compromises designed to hold fragile coalitions together. This political instability is a symptom of a much deeper issue: the fracturing of Israeli society. The old secular Ashkenazi consensus that founded the state has given way to a deeply divided society. There are growing rifts between secular and religious Jews, between Mizrahi and Ashkenazi Jews, between the political left and right, and of course, between Jewish and Arab citizens of Israel. One of the most profound shifts is the demographic and political rise of the ultra-Orthodox or Haredi community. This is a fast-growing population that, for the most part, does not serve in the military, often has a different educational curriculum, and has very distinct social and political goals. Their growing political power has allowed them to secure significant state subsidies and exemptions, which creates resentment among the secular and modern Orthodox populations who bear the brunt of military service and the tax burden. This isn't just a political debate, it's a fundamental clash over the character and future of the Israeli state. Is it to be a modern liberal democracy, or a state governed more by religious law? This question is at the heart of the judicial overhaul controversy that brought millions of Israelis to the streets. Those protests weren't just about a specific law, they were about a battle for the soul of the nation. This internal fracturing has a direct impact on the country's resilience. The social solidarity that was once a cornerstone of Israel's strength, often referred to as a society as an army, is eroding. We've seen reservists threatening to refuse service to protest government policies, a previously unthinkable act. This signals a breakdown in the social contract, where a significant portion of the population feels that the government no longer represents their values or interests. When the very institution that binds the country together, the military, becomes a political battlefield. It points to a crisis of an entirely new magnitude. The economic model is also under pressure. Israel has a vibrant, world-class tech sector, earning it the nickname Silicon Wadi. The sector has driven economic growth and innovation. However, it exists alongside a large, less productive segment of the economy. Furthermore, the political instability and social tensions are starting to worry investors. The judicial overhaul plans, for example, led to warnings from credit rating agencies and a significant flight of capital, as tech entrepreneurs and venture capitalists feared that a weakening of democratic institutions would harm the business environment. Nation's economy, especially one so reliant on foreign investment and global talent, cannot be separated from its political stability and social cohesion. So when we put all these pieces together, more complex relationship with the USA, changing regional map, new military challenges, and profound internal political and social divisions, the picture that emerges is one of a country under immense stress. The term implosion might sound dramatic, but it refers to a collapse inward. It's not about being defeated by an external enemy, but about the internal contradictions and divisions becoming so great that the state ceases to function effectively. Israel is not on the verge of disappearing from the map tomorrow. It remains a powerful country, with a resilient population and incredible innovative capacity. However, the trends are pointing towards a period of significant decline in its relative power and internal coherence. The combination of external pressure and internal decay creates a feedback loop. Internal division makes it harder to project strength abroad, and a less secure external environment exacerbates internal fears and conflicts. The core of the issue is a failure to articulate a shared vision for the future. The foundational Zionist project has, for many, reached a dead end. What does it mean to be a Jewish and democratic state when the occupation of another people becomes permanent, and the rifts within the Jewish population itself grow ever wider? These are the existential questions that Israeli society is grappling with, often not through open debate, but through political paralysis and social strife. Quietly, but steadily, the ground beneath one of the world's most dynamic and controversial nations is shifting, and the direction of that shift is far from certain. Thanks for watching. If you found this analysis insightful, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into complex global issues. We'll see you in the next one.